A Chinese intelligence agent called Feng, or as she renamed herself when she came to this country, Christine Feng, became a force within the Democratic Party of California. Along the way, she cultivated a number of Democratic office holders. Feng had sexual relationships with at least two of them, identified in the Axios story as mayors from Midwestern cities. Feng also began a relationship with a man called Eric Swalwell. You may recognize that name. Eric Swalwell is a member of the United States Congress. Swalwell sits on the House Intelligence Committee. He is privy to this country's most closely held secrets. Feng's relationship with Swalwell began in 2012. Like so many Chinese spies, Feng used college as her cover. She enrolled as a student at a university in the Bay Area, and she immediately joined a number of left-wing identity politics organizations on campus. From there, she quite naturally began raising money for Democratic candidates. U.S. intelligence officials believe that Feng had a sexual relationship with Eric Swalwell. We asked Swalwell's office about that directly today. His staff replied by saying they couldn't comment on whether or not Swalwell had a sexual relationship with Feng because that information might be, quote, classified. They did not elaborate or explain what they meant by that. We do know that when Feng met Swalwell, he was a little-known city councilman in the Bay Area, but he had grand political aspirations. Feng became his regular companion. She was photographed with Swalwell at political events several times. She became a financial bundler for his political campaigns. Feng apparently pulled in large amounts of money from a variety of sources to help Eric Swalwell get elected to Congress. It's not entirely clear where all of that money came from. We do know that Feng helped Swalwell secure the support of his district's Asian American community. Political analysts have called that a critical factor in his win in 2012. That's not a new trick for Chinese intelligence services. Another Democrat from the state of California, the state's senior Democrat, Senator Dianne Feinstein, employed a Chinese spy in her office for nearly 20 years. That spy drove Feinstein around and directly assisted her in outreach to Asian American voters. Like the spy that Feinstein hired, Feng gained access to Eric Swalwell's office in Washington. U.S. officials say Feng managed to install an intern in Swalwell's office, almost certainly as a spy for the Chinese government. Now, we don't know the full extent of Feng's intelligence activities in this country. Eventually, she fled the U.S. for China while under FBI investigation. Swalwell claims he hasn't talked to her in years. We do know that in Eric Swalwell, the Chinese government picked a promising vehicle. Swalwell is one of the most high-profile members of Congress. Last year, he ran for president of the United States. At every turn, Eric Swalwell has remained a reliable source of Chinese government propaganda. As a member of the House Intelligence Committee, he styled himself as an expert at spotting foreign interference in our government, remarkably. As you may remember, Swalwell spent years accusing the sitting president of working for a hostile power.
The question has shifted from whether the president is working with the Russians to what evidence exists that the president is not working with the Russians.
He's betrayed our country, and I don't say that lightly. I worked as a prosecutor for 7 years, and
Betraying the country, by the way, we want evidence before you say that, but you said an agent of Russia.
Yeah, he works on their behalf.
Do you still believe that the president is a Russian agent?
I think he acts on Russia's behalf, and he puts Russia's interests ahead too often of America's interests.
You're a member of the judiciary. Do you believe the president right now has been an agent of the Russians?
Yes, I think there's more evidence than evidence. Yes, and I think all the arrows point in that direction, and I haven't seen a single piece of evidence that he's not.
Looking back, it's hard to watch that tape. The irony is overwhelming. It's always those who have the most to hide who attack other people for the very things they've done. Always. Even at the time he was saying that, it was very obvious to us that something was very wrong with Eric Swalwell. So 2 years ago, we asked Swalwell to come on this show and reveal the evidence he claimed he'd collected on Russian collusion. Swalwell came, couldn't turn down a TV opportunity, he made loud noises, and he left. He had no evidence. But he didn't stop making allegations. Here he is at a hearing with Jim Comey back in 2017.
I want to talk about the Kremlin playbook. And there are a number of ways that a foreign adversary could seek to influence a person. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Financial?
Yes, that can be one.
Romance, you said, is another?
Yes.
Compromise?
Correct.
Oh, it's part of the playbook. Part of the Kremlin playbook, Eric Swalwell says. So what they do, these foreign intel services, is they use sex, a honey trap, if you will, to set up a compromise. Spoken like a man who knows that subject quite well. When the Russia hoax subsided, as it inevitably did because it was a lie, Swalwell turned his energies to his first love, which is defending the government of China from all criticism. In March, Swalwell told the rest of us that we are racist if we describe where the coronavirus came from originally. He said this on Twitter, quote, "When lawmakers refer to COVID-19 as a Chinese virus, they're not only misleading the public about a disease with confirmed cases in over 100 countries, they are stoking racism and xenophobia in our communities. Diseases don't have an ethnicity, period." So if you're bored sometime, take those words and type them into Google, and you will find analogs almost precisely to the word in Chinese state media. That's what he was repeating. If you ask Eric Swalwell, blaming the Chinese government for the coronavirus was a mistake. The right reproach is to defer to the Chinese government as much as you possibly can. In 2017, Swalwell expressed outrage that the Trump administration was taking too tough a position with China's ally, North Korea. He wrote this, quote, "The president's reckless and inconsistent North Korea strategy risks American lives. Instead," Swalwell demanded, "Trump must, quote, talk to experts, allies, and China." Swalwell had been saying similar things for years. In 2013, for example, he demanded that we, quote, engage China and Russia to keep Iran nuclear free. Do you notice a pattern here? Of course you do. And yet here's the amazing thing. As of tonight, with all this information public, Eric Swalwell, who has used his office to promote Beijing's talking points, almost word for word, ones that matter, by the way, a man who admits to a close personal relationship with an actual Chinese spy who helped him get elected to Congress, raised money for him, and put an intern, probably another spy, in his office. That man continues to serve on the House Intelligence Committee, where he has unrestricted access to classified information. How is this happening?